Genesis chapter 16, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm going to say to you today, because the title of my message today is called Stay in the Course. Stay in the course. Let's look at Genesis chapter 16. From verse 1, it says this. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abraham, Behold, now the Lord has restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid, and it may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah. There was great debate whether he should do this thing or not. What do you think, men? And Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abraham, to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she'd conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. I've seen this over and over and over. People who, not just in church, in life, I've heard story after story, and I've seen it myself, of people who you pick up off the ground who have no value or recognize no value in themselves. And as soon as they begin to get up off the ground, they begin to despise the place that they were blessed. Are you with me? So this woman who was a maid, an Egyptian, who really had nothing going for her, she was a maid. Can anyone relate to before you came to church? How many remember where you were before Jesus picked you up? Do you remember where you were? That's why for me, I cannot look down on anybody, because I refuse to allow myself to forget where I'm coming from. Some of us have forgotten very quickly, therefore we show ourselves off on other people. We look down at people just because we get a new house or a new car or a new wife or a new husband or a new child. And we begin to look down at those who we feel are not at the place that we are. And that is a form of pride. And the Bible tells us clearly that pride goes before a fall. And when God has blessed you, don't ever think that you could look down at somebody and it's okay. Don't think that because God has blessed you, all of a sudden you can have an attitude with other people. Because you drive a nice car doesn't make you a better person than the person who takes a bus. Because you're married doesn't make you any superior to the single person. Because getting married is one thing. Staying married is a whole nother ball game. How many married people can say amen? You know, this morning you had the opportunity, right? And some of you people are complaining about not having a man, not having a woman, not being married. And there's those who are married complaining about the one they have. You watch people, some complain when it rains, they complain when it snows, they complain when it's hot. Which is good? The sunshine, it's too hot, it's too hot, it's too hot. The snow, I can't stand the snow, I can't function in the snow. It rains, I hate the rain. What do you want, death? So we get to this place where we become arrogant because God begins to bless us. Now, it goes on to say this. Verse 5 says, And Sarai said unto Abraham, My wrong be upon you. Why is she saying that? Because she felt that he did more than just produce the child. He got too close to her. So she says, I've given my handmaid into your bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between me and you. And I say this to you. When God blesses you, do not look down on others. It is the quickest way to lose what you have. Some of us, we're on the outskirts of church because we've forgotten what it was like without Christ. See, someone like me, I know I know that without him, I wouldn't be here today. I know that. I mean, it's no doubt. My education or lack of it, whatever, my quickness of mind, all those things couldn't get me here. So I fully understand that I'm here completely and utterly because of the grace of God. So for me, I'm in this kingdom. All I know to do is surrender myself to the King. Now, some of you have forgotten where you come from, so you're still on the outskirts and living your own dream. It is not about the will of God. It's about your dream, your feelings, your emotions. It's all about you because you've forgotten where you come from. Some of us remember clearly, like yesterday, what it was like without Jesus in our lives. I remember the day he came. I remember the changes. I remember walking down the road. I remember feeling like a dirty weight lifting off my shoulder. I remember the peace that I got that I never had before. I remember when this man Jesus appeared to me in my bedroom. I remember all those things. I remember the times when we had nothing and God sent people into our homes, into our lives. I remember what it was. I remember how I didn't have a car and with a bad credit, and in the bank I fill out a form and they give me £3,000. I bought a Saab 900 Turbo. I remember all the things. I remember when my wife was dying. I remember how God healed. I remember when Sarah was in the hospital dying. I remember how God healed her. I remember when Dom was dying. I remember how God healed her. I remember all the things that God has done. Therefore, it keeps me propelled to serve the King. And you know what it does? It's like I was in the hotel with some of the people. I like to talk to the people. And they see you as so high up there. And I sat with them and I started telling them my story, where I came from. I tell them I remember my wife when she'd reach up on the shelf and there's a hole in her coat. I remember those days. They said, "You been there?" I said, "Yes, we've been there." I said, "I remember when we couldn't shop on a weekly basis. We had to cook soup for 3 or 4 days to make it last." I remember those things. You remember those things? Some of you have forgotten because now you're throwing food away. In your mother and father's day, I remember you never threw, food never went in the bin. You were the bin. You devoured it, right? But now we throw food away. I'm watching parents giving children options. Do you want KFC style chicken, or you want pizza, or what do you want, mashed potato? How many in our growing up? I don't remember having a conversation about what I want for dinner. You came home and thank God for what's on the table. And if you didn't eat it, we never had this snack in between. What's a snack? When you say snack, it sounds closer to smack. So you never mentioned it. But today's different. We have so much. So much. When I got saved, I had 1 pair of trousers. I used to wear my bus driver's uniform to church on Sundays. Blue tie, blue shirt, gray suit. I'd wear it in. Take off the badge, who knows? You look like anybody else dressed for church. I remember where I had to wear 1 pair of trousers, 1 shirt. I got the picture. 1 shoes, 1 gray socks. For 1 single year, every single week, I wore the same thing. You know what it did? It removed that follow fashion thing from me. I'm not moved by fashion. I create fashion. That's a joke. I'm not the one. I just dress to look okay. I'm not trying to create a statement. It's like people going, "You're married for 40 years, amazing." And I'm like, we didn't get married to impress people. We're not staying married to impress people. We stay married because we love each other. If others will look in, but we're not walking around trying to say, "Look, 40 years." We're just in love. And we're just living as normal. Amen. So watch this. This was what it says here. But Abraham said unto Sarah, "Behold, thy handmaid is in your hand. Do to her as it pleased you." And when Sarah dealt hardly with her, she ran. She fled from her face. And let me talk to you about the running. There's a lot of us who have the idea that a change of location will change things. There are people that move around without actually consulting God. There are people that marry and divorce. And if you've been divorced, I'm not judging you. I'm not putting you down. You know your circumstances. And probably if I was married to some of the people you married, I'd probably divorce them as well. But Some of us are going through stuff. How many know what I'm talking about? Some of us are facing challenges. And the way many of us think, we think the way out is to run. I've seen people move from the UK to America trying to escape the thing that you're going through. I've seen couples who divorce because of what they're going through. When the pressure comes, people leave jobs because of what they're going through. I remember when my wife worked for a company called Mercury. They were a telephone company. And I remember I bought her Mercedes and renovated it and took it back to bare metal. The car's like brand new. And a guy put a toolbox on her car and dragged it across the bonnet. Okay, I could live with that. Then one day she phoned me and asked me, what does this mean? If some drawing or some writing someone put on her computer. She didn't know what it meant, but I knew what it meant. I said, I will be down there. I'm bringing my baseball bat. You point him out to me. I'll broke his neck for him. She says, no, you're not going to do that. So I'm saying to her, let me come down. Let me come down. Because what he said was really rude. She says to me, I will deal with it. And you know, she stayed in that place. When we left to live in America, they called her in and asked her why she was leaving. She would not name one of them. She said, it's my time to go. After she left the company, all of them got the sack, they got laid off, and the company shut down. But you know what? Had she run, the thing with running is you never solve the problem. I watch people that divorce and they end up marrying someone who looks like the first wife. Isn't that strange? You divorce this one and you go because your destiny is connected to that person, and you automatically go towards someone who looks just like the one that you divorced. Now, I've been married for 40 years. Suppose I divorce my wife today. Where do I go? I'm going to marry someone who has children for someone else, which ain't going to happen. Or I'm going to marry someone who's young and wants children, which ain't going to happen. So there's no place for me. Because I don't want children. I don't want someone else's children. And it means I've got to go all the way back. You ever play snakes and ladders? You ever get to the top? And that long snake takes you all the way back to the first square. I'd rather face whatever we need to deal with, conquer that, and just keep on moving. Then go pick up some 30-year-old, 35-year-old who's like a spring chicken and wants children, like 4 or 5 children. And like, do I look like I'm going to have children again? Look, we've passed that stage. You don't go backward in life. You keep moving forward. So I say, you know what? Whatever we face, we're not going to run. We're going to deal with. You get it? So those of you who are going through problems in your life, the solution is not to immigrate to another country. I see people, they say here, I can't get a job. I can't make it in the UK. Well, dear Lord, tell me how you're going to make it in America. Huh? They say, if I go to America, everything will be fine. Do you remember the time you used to say, if I have a house, I'll be okay? Remember that? Then you get the house, but it's still not okay. So if I get a bigger house, I'll be okay. And once I get a new car, I'll be good. Once I get married, you remember when you thought, once I get married, I won't be lonely anymore? You get married and you found out you're even more lonely. Because the issue is not on the outside, the issue is on the inside. So whatever you're facing, let me explain this to you. There are things that God's going to allow into our lives to test our faith, to grow us. You cannot tell me you know how to love when you've never known how to hate. You cannot know what it is to have compassion until you've been through some stuff. It's funny, when you've been through some stuff, you treat people differently. I changed up money in Jamaica. And almost all the money that I had on me, I gave as tips to the people in there. I go and I give this one $20 and I give one $50. And there's a guy that really looked after me, and I took him. I said, "You're exceptional." And I gave him 150 pounds because he'd done over and above everything I needed. But you know why I'm giving it? It's not to make people think I got money. Because sometimes you want to give them and you think what you could do with the money. Are you here? But the difference is I remember what it was like not to have. I don't give because I'm a generous person. I give because I know what it is for someone to be generous to me. I give because I understand what it is to have lack in your life. I understand what 50 pounds could do in my life back in the day. But I wouldn't have known that unless I'd suffered so badly. I wouldn't have known how to do that unless I'd been through some stuff, and then God has brought me to a place where I don't lack. But just because I'm not in lack doesn't mean I look down on those who are in lack. It says this. Abraham said, verse 7 says, she fled from the face of Sarah. And verse 7 says, and the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said unto Hagar, Sarah's maid, where are you coming from and where are you going? Here's the question. Where are you coming from and where are you going? You're running, but what you're running from? If you're running from it, where are you going to get away from it? Where is it do you think you can go? How many know when you're married, you got conflict? Two people come together, you walk down the aisle, the Bible says you become one flesh. But two people that are married, how many know when you first get married, you walk down the aisle on the wedding day, but you really don't know who you're walking with? It's only after a while you get into that marital home and the characters begin to develop and you begin to see who the person really is. Now, how many of you actually believe you're going to marry someone just like you? Realistically, am I going to marry someone exactly like me? Then why do I need to be married? The Bible says, iron sharpeneth iron, so the man of countenance of his friend. So if I'm going to get married, I must understand that I'm going to marry someone, and most likely it will be someone totally opposite to you. Now, how many, if I marry someone opposite to me, that means we're not going to be the same. We have different ideas, different ideals, different the way we think. Like when we got married, I told my wife she shouldn't smack the kids. She would smack them. I would say no. Then I saw how they behaved bad, so I started smacking them. And I became the smacker. Because my thing was, no, sit down. No, don't do that. Naughty. So now, whereas my children, when one of them wanted to play with fire, I light the match and let him touch it. I won't call his name, but I let him touch the match. And when the fire burned him, he never played with fire again. You getting it? You don't report me for child cruelty. It's too late. But she's totally opposite to me. There are days where we had arguments. It was like, she's so different. And I'm totally different. But watch this. Sometimes we run and everything seems okay. But what we don't realize is even though it still looks okay, destiny has been altered. For instance, let me give you an example. She wanted to leave me. She had a moment. I mean, we all have moments of insanity in our lifetime. 30 odd years ago, when we got saved, she wanted to leave me. She locked me out my own housing association apartment. She locked me out. My apartment. I went to turn the key in my door, in my lock, and it wouldn't turn. And she told me, I knocked the door. How many of there's a different emotion comes in when someone locks you out of your own home. And I said, open the door. She said, she's talking to me through the door. I mean, that's even more annoying. Your own place, and someone inside lock you out, talking to you from like you're the burglar trying to get in. And I said, open the door. She says, no. I said, Erica, open the door. She says, no, you told me to choose. I've chosen. Choose what? I said, you choose me or God. It wasn't like a serious thing. You're just like, choose me or choose God. It wasn't. What I meant was choose me or church. But then you can't get God without the church, right? So she locked me out. Now, suppose at that point I'd walked away and says, you keep your God, I'm going my way. How many know I'd probably have married again? She may have married again, but this wouldn't be. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? When you run, you don't know. It looks okay, but what you don't see is the altering of destiny. How many lives together we've impacted? Not just in this country, but many countries around the world. Lives are impacted. What would have happened if she went east and I went west? Yes, I may have married another woman. I've known me, I'd probably been divorced. See, one of the things you don't marry is hard for me to divorce. Is like, we stayed in a hotel that used to be another hotel, and the hotel we stayed for was much nicer. Almost all the 14 nights at this hotel, I was with the management telling them what the first hotel was like. They didn't do this. If that was that one, they would have done that. That would never happen. Because one night there's no water. No water? I mean, no water like no water. So I says, if it was the other hotel, they would have had buckets here, at least you could flush the toilet. If it was the other hotel, they would have had water to the room so we could wash our face. And that's what would happen if I ever remarried. You wouldn't want to marry me. Because I'd be saying, you're not like Erica. Erica wouldn't laugh like you. Erica wouldn't cook that. Erica would be working out. Why are you getting so chubby? Erica wouldn't do that. And I would be spending my whole life. Let me stop. Those are things I promised you I wouldn't bring up in the service, right? So watch this. She's running, but she's thinking she's going to escape. Watch what the instruction is for her. Verse 9 says, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hands. Here's the scary part. When the angel met Hagar, Hagar was pregnant. Some of you are pregnant today. Clarify. Let me clarify. Some of you, men and women, are pregnant today with destiny. With destiny. The angel says, go back to what you're running from. Submit yourself. Because therein lies your destiny. Had we separated then, this wouldn't be. Go back to what you're running from. Submit yourself to your mistress. Because you're pregnant with destiny. And out of the pregnancy was coming Ishmael that will own all the oil fields. Maybe she should have, the angel should have let her go. That we may have got some of the oil fields. But she was pregnant with destiny. And if she kept running, she would have aborted the blessing that God was going to put on that child. And many of us are running and we've aborted the blessings that God has placed in store for us. Are you with me? So I make a decision. I'm not going to run from nothing. I tell everyone, there's no way over, there's no way under, and there's no way around. David says, yea, though I walk through, though I walk around, yea, though I walk under, yea, though I climb over. It says, yea, though I walk through. And this is what we don't understand. There's certain things in our lives there's no way around. The trials we must face, and we must face it, and we must go through. But don't go through moaning and groaning. Go through with a heart of faith. Go through so when you come out, you can hold your chest high up and say, God, I trusted you all the way. Not running and crying and screaming. Listen, if there's something in your life that keeps reoccurring, it means you're failing the test on a regular basis. And I don't know about you, when we're in school, we had classes in the West Indies. I think most of West Indian islands are like this. If you fail in a class, you don't go to the next class. You stay in that class. So then juniors behind you come up behind you, and eventually you become the oldest and the biggest in your class. And then next year, if you fail that test, those juniors will graduate, but you're still in the same class. And until you pass the test, you do not move to the next class. You must stay in that class until you pass the test. And many of us, you're going through the same thing over and over and over. Like, people keep offending you. Why is it people keep offending me all the time? Because you will not forgive. So you stay in that trial until you get to the place where you lift your hand and say, Lord, I let go. Then you move to the next level. You're going to see this in the church. There's going to be people coming that's going to excel some of you. They will go straight past. You see people preaching up here that you haven't even seen in church yet. And some of you will still be there saying, why them and not me? Because you're not paying attention to the lesson. Whenever God allows us to go through something, it's relating to the thing that He's called us to do. If you're suffering poverty, you may be one of those that God's going to use to be a blessing to other people. Whatever the things you're going through, the hard times, messages are not formed when you study. See, my notes is like that, right? I won't finish them. That's my notes. One line of scripture. But my notes is not coming from the paper. Mine's coming from the heart. Because I've lived it. It's hard to preach what you haven't lived. You watch these preachers on TV and they're talking about, they know what they're saying. Because you're not talking about what you lived. You're trying to get revelation from the word without living the word. How many know when you live the word, it becomes real in you? You never forget it, right? So, the running thing. Are we going to keep running? Change your location is not going to help you. It doesn't help. Change of husband is not going to help you. Because sometimes you run from something, the thing you run from, it follows you. And then you marry someone else. Now you've got the first one's problem and the second one's problem, so you're multiplied. Imagine if I marry someone else, me and my wife fall out. Now I've got her, and then sometimes you marry someone who's got children for someone else, then you've got them plus the problems, and it multiplies. So the best thing is we stand still and we face it. What is it God's trying to teach you in your trial? Most of us spend our days trying to escape the trial. God, you said you wouldn't give me more than I should bear. Then shut up and just bear it. You don't have to keep reminding him, oh God, this is so hard. You promised me you wouldn't give me more than I could bear. You're saying it because you think it's too much. Just be still and just surrender. Just surrender to the will of God. Because you know when you surrender, it's like when you put your hands up, you don't fight no more. If I'm in a war and they say that I come out with a white flag and I say, I surrender, how many know I don't need to be fighting anymore? I'm just following my captors. Wherever you tell me, go, I'm going. You got the gun in my back, I'm going wherever we want. When you surrender to God, you stop the fight. It's no longer, how am I going to get at this? What am I going to do? How can I do this? It's, Lord, whatever you will. That means when I die to myself, I can be alive to His will, to His purpose, to His plan. Whatever He tells me. If He tells me love people, I love people. If He tells me forgive people, I forgive people. Whatever He tells me to do, I'll do it, and I'll do it with great joy. For those of you who are struggling with whatever you're struggling with, usually you'll find you're too alive in your flesh. You're too much alive in your flesh. God, I don't like. God, I don't want. God, I don't need. God, where's the I in you? It is not about you and I. It is about the King and his kingdom. That means I surrender myself, and whatever you allow me to go through, I'm not complaining. How many trials are part of our job description as a Christian? Many are the afflictions of the righteous. Psalms 34, verse 8, verse 19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but. I'm so glad he put the but in there, right? How many would you describe as many? If I said to you, have many blessings for you, how many would you expect? Oh, you understand the many blessing. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers from them all. So whatever I'm going through, I know it has an end date. For 12 and a half years, we've been saying we're going to get a building. 12 and a half years. 12, that's half the time Abraham waited for his son. 12 and a half years, not everyone believed it. 12 and a half years. But it had an end date. The end date is the 3rd of June. The 3rd of June is the end date. It's come. But you know what? In 12 and a half years, many fainted in the way. Some of you have just joined, so you didn't have to wait. Don't worry, your trial is on its way. But what would have happened had we given up? Could we have given up? Did we have the opportunity to give up? We could have done what everyone else done. We could have quit, but we're not quitters because winners never quit. Are you with me?